Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Quiet Your Inner Mean Girl podcast. Today, we are going to talk about falling off track, specifically falling off track for the last time. Because today, I'm going to walk you through how to handle your inner mean girl when she wants you to believe that you've fallen off track, so that you no longer have to fall victim to those lies that she's telling you. But before we jump in, y'all, we are just getting back into the swing of a somewhat normal routine. Last week, my family and I spent the week with a group of our friends out in Nantucket, and it's truly our happy place. We just had the best week. So much beach time. And if you know Nantucket, you know that service out there is spotty at best. And it was just such a great reminder that sometimes we need to disconnect to reconnect. And sometimes we need to do that more than we think that we do. But it was just a great opportunity to do that, to disconnect, to reconnect with ourselves, myself, my family, our friends, my body, my goals, my mind. And it just really felt so good. But I am looking forward to jumping back into things. And I will tell you that this topic for today's podcast came up while out in Nantucket on vacation. One morning, I was out for a walk, and all of a sudden, I felt my inner mean girl coming like full force, knocking at my door. I immediately felt the guilt of vacation. She was trying to convince me, and quite successfully, I will say, for a little bit of time, that I had fallen off track, that I had so much from vacation that I needed to make up for, that I'd have to get back on track when I got home. And listen, we all know that there is no track for us to fall off. Life is not a track that we are on or that we are off. But this is what our mean girl does. She tries to convince us that there is. Over and over again, she tries to tell us that we have fallen off track, that we have to make up or burn off or feel guilty or ashamed for living life outside our norm or outside of the life and the habits and the confidence that we are trying to create for yourself. If you're not yet there, you might be in the process of it. And I think when you're in the process of it, she's even louder, right? It's so much easier to convince ourselves that we have fallen off track when we're not yet there. But today, we're going to put an end to it. Today is the day that you fall off track for the last time. And I want to start with acknowledging or bringing insight and awareness to what actually happens when we believe the story that we have fallen off track. And I'm going to speak from my experience, but I'm also going to venture to believe that it's pretty close to your experience. So when we believe that we have fallen off track, what ends up happening is that you start to feel guilty. You start to maybe feel ashamed or frustrated or anxious. And then you start to think about all of the things that you did that were outside of your norm or that norm that you're creating, right? And then you classify those things as quote unquote bad, which then only increases the guilt, the shame, and the frustration. And then when you do that, you bring all of your attention to the things that you didn't do. And you focus on those things. And then the guilt and the shame and the frustration builds even more. Your anxiety starts to build. You start to beat yourself up. You think of all of the things that you're going to have to do to make up or burn off in order to get back on track. And then your anxiety continues to build, your stress continues to build, your guilt continues to build, your shame continues to build, the frustration continues to build, and it all starts to feel really overwhelming. And when you feel overwhelmed, you start to think about how you don't have the time. You don't have the time to do all of the things that you need to do to make up, to burn off, to get back on track. You don't have the energy or the space to do all of those things. And then it starts to feel really hard. And when things feel really hard, and they feel really hard from a place of overwhelm and stress and guilt and shame and anxiety and frustration, and all of that builds, you give up. You throw in the towel, you lie to yourself, and you tell yourself that you don't care, that your goals aren't important to you, even though you do care, even though you want it so badly. And the reason I know that you care, the reason I know that that's a lie that you're telling yourself, is because you're feeling bad about doing things differently. Right? If you didn't really care about your goal, if it really wasn't important to you, you wouldn't care. You'd be like, all right, well, whatever. And we're not going to whatever this, right? That's not what it is about. It's about acknowledging things. But when you are in a place where you're so overwhelmed and frustrated and it feels so hard that you're ready to throw in the towel, you let your inner mean girl win. You tell yourself that you'll start again. You'll start again another day. And we all know how that goes. This is the cycle that so many of us, women in particular, fall victim to. It's why so many of my clients come to me frustrated, believing that they have been working so hard and not getting any results, believing that they have tried everything and nothing is working. It's an exhausting battle with your inner mean girl. And it's always a losing battle. It's exhausting to start and stop and then have to work up the courage and the motivation to start again. What I want you to think about today is reframing the belief that you fell off track. And I want you to start to do this by reminding yourself that the belief that you fell off track is just a sentence inside your head. It's a sentence that your inner mean girl is feeding to you, that you're choosing to believe. And even though your inner mean girl wants you to believe that you fell off track, the truth is that you don't feel good. You don't love the decisions that you made, or you don't love some of the decisions that you made. And maybe you don't feel bad, but maybe you also just don't feel your best. Maybe you had wanted to do things one way and then things changed or things came up and you didn't get to it. Or maybe you wanted to do things one way and then you made excuses and you didn't honor what you really wanted. In any case, I want you to think about this reframe. Because when you can reframe the sentence, I fell off track, to I don't feel my best right now, or the things I chose this week or this month or for whatever period of time, the things that I chose aren't making me feel my best. They're not what I wanted to do. When you can make this reframe, when you can ground yourself in the truth, in your reality, right? You didn't fall off track because there's no track to fall off. The truth is, you don't feel your best. You're not proud of all of the choices that you made. You would have done things differently. When you do that, you quiet your inner mean girl. You take yourself out of self-sabotaging victim mentality and you give yourself control to powerfully choose to do things differently. You don't need to make up or burn off or feel guilty about what you did or chose or didn't do that is making you feel guilty or making you feel like it's not the best version of you. But you're doing this to show yourself that you have control, that your inner mean girl is going to feed you a story, and she's probably feeding you that story because you've allowed her to feed you that story for so long. But when you can bring yourself back to this reframe and remind yourself that, hey, I just didn't do things that made me feel my best, you get to then look at, what didn't I do that didn't make me feel my best? Or what did I do that doesn't make me feel my best? And what am I going to do differently? So I'm going to take you back to my morning walk in Nantucket when I felt my inner mean girl creeping in and feeding me the story that I had fallen off track. She was telling me all of these things. Same thing. You fell off track. You've got to make up for things. When are you going to fit this in? When you get back, what is this going to look like? You're going to have to do this whole story. And because I have done so much work on this, because coaching has helped me to see my mind for what it is, little stories that my inner mean girl is feeding me, I was able to catch it. I felt it, and I felt the guilt, and I felt the frustration, but I was also able to catch it because I know the guilt and the frustration I feel, and I know when it's linked to my inner mean girl. So I was able to catch it, and I was able to look at, okay, what is it that is making me feel this way right now? Because I will be honest, I did a lot of things that should have made me feel really good. I moved my body just about every day while on vacation, like purposely moved my body because I know that I just feel my best when I do that. So I would go for walks in the morning. The place that we stay is not far from the beach, and there's these beautiful dirt roads that I would walk on. So I would go for walks most mornings. I brought some equipment with me. So I had my yoga mat and I had some free weights that I was able to do some strength classes and do some stretching and some yoga. And we bike ride with the kids a lot, and we went for walks, and the beaches there are not easy to walk on. So it wasn't the fact that I hadn't moved my body or anything, like I hadn't taken care of myself. I had taken care of myself. I had also let my body rest and take days where we just hung out, right? So that wasn't it. But what I was able to do was see what happened that week that wasn't making me feel my best. And I'll tell you what it was. We ate dinner late almost every night. We had a house full of adults and kids, and we would feed the kids and get them to bed. And then our friends and I would sit down and have dinner much, much later than I'm used to having dinner, right? Like my family and I, we eat together, and we eat about 6 o'clock most nights, depending on schedule. But most nights we eat about 6 o'clock. We were eating at like 9:30 at night. That doesn't make me feel my best. I don't feel bad about it. I'm not ashamed about it. I'm not even frustrated about it because I was able to recognize it and because I know why we chose to do that. That was a decision that we made. It's not a decision I want to make all of the time, but the decision to do that week is okay with me. Okay. It also gives me visibility and awareness into I don't want to do this all of the time. So that was number one. Number two was that I had more cocktails than I would typically do. We were on vacation. It wasn't a free for all. So that's a difference, right? It was, again, mindful, controlled choices, but it still wasn't what I would typically do. Okay. More cocktails, later dinners, out of my norm. The third thing was that I did not sleep very well out there. We were eating late. We were hanging out and talking and having a great time. And I was getting to bed later. And my daughter ended up sleeping in our bed a couple nights. And I just didn't sleep that great while we were out there. But again, it's not anything that I now feel like I have to make up for. These aren't things that I feel like I need to burn off or feel guilty about. What the reframe did was allow me to look at, okay, what happened that doesn't make me feel my best? And what do I want to do differently? What I want to do differently is get back into my normal dinner routine. I want to eat dinner earlier. I want to be done with food after dinner. And I want to get back into a normal nightly routine, which then leads into earlier bedtime. I do not stay up late. That is not me. So getting to bed earlier is something that makes me feel good. And the third thing is I'm not one to have that many cocktails. It doesn't make me feel that good. I don't typically enjoy it often. It was vacation and it was fine. And I made those decisions mindfully. And I'm okay with that because I know I'm not carrying that forward. This reframe will give you control to come back to what you know, to what you want to do differently, and will keep you on the path of the life and the habits and the confidence that you have or are creating for yourself or want to create. And instead of having to start over, you pick things back up and you keep going. You take starting over off the table because you just get right back into it. So I want you to think about this today. What is the story that your inner mean girl feeds you when you believe that you have fallen off track? And what do you need to remind yourself of when she does that? Is it that you don't feel your best? Is it that you didn't make decisions or you didn't honor the decisions that you had made and you want to make different decisions? What is the truth beyond the story she's telling you? Because we know there is no track to fall off of. So if there's no track to fall off of, what do you need to allow yourself to come back to? What do you need to do differently to feel your best? All right, y'all. I hope this was super helpful for you. And if you are feeling like you are perpetually falling off track or your inner mean girl is constantly running the show, I invite you to join me in Confident Mind and Body. It's my private coaching program where this is exactly what we work on. We work on those stories that your inner mean girl is telling you, that self-sabotaging victim mentality that we can so easily fall victim to. We clean that up. We find the small, doable steps that work for you and your life so that you can create the habits and the confidence you want while living the life that you love. You don't need to give up anything. If you believe that you need to give up all of your favorite things in order to feel healthy and confident, you are doing it wrong. And I invite you to join Confident Mind and Body, where we can figure out how to do it the best for you. So reach out to me, schedule a free consultation to learn more. And y'all, I hope this episode was super helpful to you so that you can fall off track for the last time. We're done now. All right. Bye bye.